Hello and welcome to the channel, and welcome to the solution for the Haibike squeaky creaky frame that's been driving me insane for the last couple of months. Now, I actually had this as 3 different complete videos, but what I've decided to do, rather than stretching it out, a lot of you out there are probably going to want to know, did I find out what the problem was and how did I fix it? So this second video originally was going to be me taking the crank arms off, taking the self-tightening bolt off, taking that all off, cleaning the motor, cleaning all the way around and getting all the rust out and rechecking all the bolts. As I mentioned, rather than dragging this out, we're going to jump to day 3 where somebody suggested that it may be the motor shims, and that would involve me taking the motor off, which I was a little bit hesitant at doing, but I decided to do it. And what you're about to see on screen is the process that I went through on the very last day. Apparently it's called, I'm probably going to butcher the lads here, trying to race each other. I always get a lot of flack from the EMB TB forums because I was honest enough at the beginning to admit that I've made mistakes and there were some things that I didn't know because other people always used to fix my bikes. Hope this video is of use to you if you've got a squeaky creaky high bike or whether you've got another bike of another brand. I hope this video is of help to you. There, you hear the first crack. First thing you're going to want to do is take your chain off or release your chain from your front chain ring. You're going to undo the 2 motor bolts and these connector bolts here. This is the motor that's out now. The motor's completely off the frame, and as you can see, pretty gunky and horrible in there, so I'm going to give it a clean before we put this back on. These are absolutely bone dry, and these lay against the actual frame and against the motor. These shims are really difficult to get out, so what I found was the easiest way to actually get these out, absolutely bone dry before we put that back in, was just to put an oversized Allen key through the bolt at the back and just give it a gentle tap, and eventually it will push this back out. This is the actual shim here, and as I've mentioned, we are going to be greasing this up and cleaning it all, but there is some burring on this side. Now that's not intentional burring as in the burred it, it's just as it's rubbed on the actual frame. So what we're actually going to do is just get a little bit of sandpaper stone here. I'm just going to see there is some residue still on there, so I'm just going to give that a little polish, make it nice and clean. It feels a lot smoother already. We'll just give that a little 20-second blast, grease all this back up and get it back on. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the front one as well, cleaning it properly with a pipe cleaner as well, making sure there's no gunk or any crap in there. Those bolts have both been put back in, all the shims now. As you can see, these actual connectors here where the cover goes and the bolt on the inside there, I've just tried to clean all that out, all that gunk out, and we'll be re-greasing the actual bolt on the inside as well where the shim touches, and put some more grease on. And I have been cleaning this with a bit of IsoClean, which you've seen me use a lot, and I will actually be putting a bit of silicone spray in there as well to stop a little bit of water ingress. And yeah, that hopefully is the final stage. Now you're going to have to be careful with your cabling. I would take a picture of it before you do it. Mine were all tucked in, and this one was actually over the front of the motor when I did it, and there are some really tiny small wires on this motor, so you want to be careful that you don't nip them when you're actually putting your motor back in. These actual bolts that hold the motor to the frame, again, just be careful that you've got all the wires out of the way before you push this in and tighten it. I'm actually putting grease on here for now. You might be better off putting thread locker on there if you want to keep it nice and tight. But because I maintain my bike now and I check it every sort of ride or two, all these bolts are actually checked, so I'm not concerned. These motor bolts here have a tiny little shim on them. Don't lose it. Make sure that you grease that up as well before you put it in. When you do put these 2 bolts in up here, make sure you do them both equally. Put half tension on this one, then half tension on this one. Don't go full tightness on one and then the other, so you make it equal. And you may find that once you've got this one in, I haven't finished this one yet, you may need to give it a bit of a tap and rearrange some of the cables underneath, because this one's quite a tight squeeze to try and push all the cables in. Just make sure you put this or something in there just to prise the wires out of the way when you're pushing it so nothing gets crushed. Motor's all back in now, nice and solid. Those bolts are back in. I've still got to put the motor cover back on, but what was really interesting was, as I actually put these bolts back in, there was no clicking whatsoever as I was actually putting the bolt in and tightening it, which that has never done it before. So I haven't tested this as yet. Obviously there's a little bit of cable management, but if I remember on my picture that I'd taken, this was actually sticking out slightly anyway here. So all I've got to do now is put the cover back on,
which is dried and looks a bit dirty again, even though I put some silicone in there and cleaned it. That's just going to go straight back on the top. If this works, I'm going to be one very, very, very happy crack open the champagne e-mountain bike rider. Wish me luck. So, I don't know why I'm so nervous. Does the power come on for a start? Yes, the power's on. So, we haven't nicked any wires or we haven't damaged it. Please, Heidi. Oh my God. I don't... Put pressure on. I can't tell you. I can't explain to you how happy I am. Oh, I'm so chuffed. I'm so happy right now. I know I've got to put this back on. I know to you lot out there, this will be nothing. It'll be absolutely nothing for you lot out there. You'll be like, what's he getting on? When you've heard this creaking and this squeaking for so long, because I made some mistakes with this, and instead of hiding the fact, I decided to be brutally honest that somebody else always fixed my bike, and I wasn't the most mechanically sounded. But I've taken that motor off, I've cleaned the shims, we've stripped the seat, we've done the handlebars, the bearings, a lot. I've learned a lot. So even if nobody else is proud of my achievements, do you know what? I am. I can't believe I've actually managed to fix this myself rather than taking it to a bike shop. I'm so happy. I can't explain to you how happy I am. Oh, Heidi, you've come through for me at last. No more squeaking. I'm so happy, guys, honestly. She's absolutely silent. So thank you to everybody who suggested over the last 2 or 3 weeks things that it could possibly be, things for me to try. I went out, I got the tools, I got the grease, I got all the stuff. Thanks to Stephen Gator, who's been massively integral to me fixing things on the bike, changing, replacing, and things like that. Honestly, I couldn't be happier. It feels almost like new bike day. Look at that, not one creak. So we know it's the motor shims. And if you're not sure or you're unaware, just watch this video, go slowly, because if somebody like me who's never done this before can do it, you can do it as well. I feel like I've won the lottery. It's ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous. But that's how I feel right now. So the only thing left for me to learn when it comes to being a bit of a do-it-yourself bike mechanic is going to be bleeding the brakes properly. That's something I haven't done, something I want to learn. And maybe, just maybe, I could put on the channel a playlist now of how to fix things on the bike, and maybe people out there won't give me so much grief and slag me off all the time when I say I don't know how to do something or I do it wrong.